First off, rest in peace to Kiara, the young lady that I guess was dating Mark Laita from Soft White Underbelly, who was found DEAD from an OD recently. Mark Laita did a long story about it. But today's after school special is about the soft white underbelly effect. Now, first of all, people, Mark is in his mid-60s. The girl was 20, 21. She had a baby. I guess they were dating. He was taking care of her. He met her when he paid her mother a couple $100 to tell one of her drug addict prostitute stories that make up that channel. We don't know what the relationship between the two of them was. It may well have been wholesome. I don't know. A lot of people don't like those age gaps. I'm not here to defend it or promote it. It's sad that she's died. Mark Laita doesn't seem like a bad person, but he seems quite naive and simple, which can often be as dangerous as having bad intentions. Mark Laita, from his description, was a photographer, a high-level professional photographer, like he did ad campaigns for Apple and things, and was very high-paid. He retired. Doesn't sound like he had any kids. He was in Chicago. Chicago is the advertising capital, for those that don't know. A lot of big ad firms there. So he wanted to do something creative with his life. Talented photographer. He did the stuff with the Whitaker family, the inbred family. And then he set himself up down there on Skid Row. I remember when the channel started. He rented a little office in Skid Row, Los Angeles. Now, up until recently, maybe 18 months ago, I lived in the expensive area that's walking distance to Skid Row. They were revitalizing downtown LA. It's kind of never really recovered from pandemic, so I was living there from 2016 to 2020. I left during pandemic. I came back after and was like, oh, this will never be the same again. But anyway, so I'm very familiar with the landscape he works in. And in fact, many of the people he interviewed, I would see. I live next to the gas station on Olympic and Hope in the Packard Lofts. I saw many of the people that were on his show out there, 8, 9 in the morning, looking high, asking for money. I would see Rebecca and many of the other ones in total psychosis, whether it was mental illness, D-rug, or a combination of both. If you're just around that downtown area, the nice part, the built-up part, north of Olympic, between Olympic and, say, 7th or 6th, and then it starts getting kind of grimy, and then from Spring on back, what would that be? East to Los Angeles, Main, Broadway, Los Angeles, blah, blah, Alameda, San Pedro. And then I had an office over in the fashion wholesale district on Crocker and 9th, but if you go down Crocker 2 or 3 blocks, you're in hardcore Skid Row. And in fact, so his office had to be a couple blocks of where mine was on a nice block, but his was in the heart of darkness, so to speak. And he has interviewed, at this point, thousands of people. There's over 1,000 videos up. He said he maybe only uses 1 out of 3. His channel is not monetized, but he has a Patreon. He sells books. He does running fundraisers. And he's grown that thing. He has several million subscribers. So I remember when he started, I probably had a couple 100,000 when he started, and now he's got millions, and I've maybe doubled. I have 600,000. I've said from early on with his channel, I get what he's doing, except the reason I say it's dangerous is the naivety. Americans like watching, like ambulance chasing. And these people, and everybody gets paid. That's why they show up to get interviewed. And Skid Row is more than anything, it's a giant open air D-rug area. That whole vast area of downtown is a kind of an open drug zone. You'll see people shooting up, smoking, serving, blah, blah, blah. It's just what it is. And to let someone that's, and many of the people when they're getting interviewed seem to be coming down or in a like I think one of the effects of METHOD man, in between becoming actually psychotic to where you enter into like, I guess, like a imaginary state, because these people are weaving these long, ridiculous kind of stories that clearly aren't true. So, and they're getting paid. So I get that he thinks that he's documenting a part of America that regular Americans don't get to see. But documentaries, I've been making real documentary films since before YouTube. Educational background, I have a master's in economics, which is very hard to major, which is very facts. And, you know, I do know film theory and etc. And of course, throwing around, oh, I'm documenting, this is a documentary, is a subtle untruth. Because if I choose to aim my camera at you instead of the person next to you, I, as a documentary filmmaker, has chosen a story. Right? If you look okay, but next to you is a decrepit building, if I show them both, am I undermining you? If I just show you, am I not showing the context of the place? Having these people come and sit in his artfully lit studio, he has a beautiful camera, he knows what he's doing. Does that, when you take them out of the context of where they exist, are you making them into romantic figures that they're not? And there's nothing that should be romanticized. And again, I'm not here to dehumanize who he interviews. In fact, I'm humanizing them. My whole life has been, I've been in two types of situations in my life, basically. Reading a book, being some type of academic, and with very nice people, or being with lowlifes or around lowlifes, starting with my own family members, drug addicts living in the house being raided for PCP sales, door getting kicked. Then as I entered my teen years, the door was getting kicked for me, but that's another story entirely. So, so many people are complaining, saying Mark preyed on this girl, right? To have a 20-year-old whose mother's a drug addict. That's how you met her. She has a baby. Mark talks about, her life was so happy. We had such a great life. And for her to OD like this, well, you couldn't have been too observant of a person who is consuming drugs at a pace at which it may take their life. I mean, especially when you're young. I'm not familiar with the whole accidentally getting Fetty Wap. I'm not in that world, but I mean, in my experience of watching people I know or just people around using drugs, I mean, most people don't use drugs. Obviously, more than few Americans do. It's very easy to tell the difference between somebody who, at least in their head, is doing it to have fun. Now, you may look at it and be like, well, you're a little out of control, but... And then the people that are, seems like to me, seeking oblivion of DEATH. Even I watch a lot of people smoke the reefers, and you seem to be questing for oblivion, to be so high and out of your mind that you're just not here. Like smoke, we're gonna roll up an eighth, roll up another eighth. People going through, quarter ounce of. I had some real white runts once, and this guy was getting it from me, and I'm like, oh, you really selling this stuff? He's like, oh no, we smoking it, and I'm like zips and zips, like every day. I was like, wow. So So, is soft white underbelly good or bad? Is to go back to my theory of film, how you're never exactly documenting reality, right? Because the eye can only look right in one way. If you had a camera and you aimed it at a Nazi his Holocaust camp, and on one side where the officers were living with their families, because there's a documentary out about this, it's all the home movies of the guards of a camp. When they weren't at the camp doing what they were doing to the Jewish people, they were at home having parties, swimming, the mom is baking bread, they're playing with the kids. It would look one kind of way, and if you simply swung the camera in a different direction, obviously you see something else. So where the camera is aimed, who you choose to put it on, by having them come into that room, you may be getting a different sense of who they are. Mark, that Rebecca girl, man, for those of you that watch Soft White Underbelly, that was one of the most out of control people. He's been working with him quite a bit and seems to have gotten him into some kind of better shape, which is good. Mark seems like he does put a lot of effort into some of the people. There was a girl, a Sartre or something, who he kept giving money to and got an apartment, but then she had a pimp boyfriend who ended up being one of the guys indicted as part of the Kitchen Crips for those 9 homicides. I don't know whether he was convicted or not. So he is getting some, like, serious LA, like, we outside for real type people. But, you know, people sometimes, when I'm interviewing people, oh, Al, you let them talk, you keep cutting them off. They're not, person is not in front of my camera to say what they want to say. They're there to answer my questions, and I will redirect them. They're not in charge of the conversation. I am, because you can't let people just start talking. They may go off on a tangent, and they may get off into the weeds of their own agenda of what they're trying to promote. Mark pretty much just lets people talk. He probably thinks he's being a pure documentarian, but there is no such thing as a pure documentarian. And when you have drug addicts and prostitutes who, as a course of their daily moment-to-moment existence, may be just telling a lie, like everything they say may be a lie over the course of a day, letting them talk in exchange for money is reinforcing their behavior. Mark has put a lot of money into the drug economy of downtown. If he's spending $500 a day, think about that. If he pays 2 people a day, because he says he does interviews every day and he doesn't use them all. If he spends $500 a day, that's $180,000. He's about 3 years deep. He may have put $500,000 easy, and 90% of that is going into D-rugs, or maybe in the case of the pimps and the hoes, paying for some hotel room that perpetuates that. And that's another thing. What's really inappropriate is him letting pimps come on, because I don't know how out of it he is, and I'm not here to, a pimp and a prostitute is just another street person to me. I'm so used to all kind of street stuff. It's not that, I don't have a particular attack or aversion to them, but maybe it's not that bad, but it's definitely not good. It's not something to promote. And those women are, whatever game face they may put on to make it seem okay to themselves, well, who would really want to be in that predicament? And if they're having to come on there to pick up $300, how much are they really making? Or they're doing it to raise their fee, because I'll tell you, those girls that go on Soft White Underbelly, there's a whole little world of Instagram hoe pages. There used to be one, Blade Wars, and they would go on Blade Wars. Price went up. I've been on Soft White Underbelly, and they could charge more. Think about, like, this is the world we live in, but no different than, I mean, that sounds kind of crazy, but a lot of things sound crazy now. What's going on with Trump and Epstein, nothing's crazier than that. So, but him being older than everybody, more educated, more well-resourced, you see, I don't really interview that many people. I feel like now that this YouTube has gotten big, or just telling your story online, a lot of desperate people want to talk. They're like a hungry, I don't like to call human being, I don't even like to use metaphors where I refer to human beings like animals, but like a hungry dog who will come to the stranger to get something to eat and show you its belly because it's hungry. And if you're gonna make his show, if he's not putting all the interviews up, that means he's picking the ones with the better performance, with the more shocking elements. So even if he's not telling anyone to ham it up, which I'm sure he's not, but we're smart, we know, like if there's been people that's been on his thing 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So they keep having to come up with a new story. They're crackhead tales. And what are you really getting out of it? All of them to me just sound like the people in the county jail telling their crackhead stories. All the crackhead stories, they're all kind of the same. Like, those people are all like kind of clones. They're the same. They're people whose brain has been totally hijacked, and they really have no personality other than trying to get high. I'm either high or I'm trying to get high. And then what's interesting too is there's such a large culture, especially if you're down in Skid Row, LA, of treatment, of counseling. You know, if you get on probation, you got to go through counseling. You come out of prison, they give you life skills. So all these people have picked up these terminologies from psychotherapy, from drug therapy, about I'm self-medicating and I had trauma. And that's not to say this stuff's not true, but again, he's not getting people that are at a rehab center. He's getting people that are actively in the street. And why? I don't know. I haven't watched it that much lately, but the first year and a half, I was kind of watching it. Why all the men, especially the black men, had their shirt off? Did you ever ask yourself, why so many men with their shirt off? Like, almost all the men would have their shirt off, which is strange. They're inside of a built. Like, why is their shirt off? Is that to make them look more animalistic, more dangerous? He seems to have boosted the contrast on the camera. It makes darker people darker, makes lighter people lighter. Again, that was a trick they used in 8 Mile. You're emphasizing visually racial differences. Listen, I know right now I'm just talking into a camera, and if you don't know my career, I've made whole movies. I've made used to make music videos. I know the minutia of cameras and editing. I know how to make people look different kind of ways by adjusting things in post-production. And so what is the point of what Mark Laita is doing? He seems to have developed a real white savior complex where he's treating these people really like children, as if they have no agency, as if they cannot be spoken back to and challenged, just letting them ramble on these stories with there being no challenging of it. And listen, he puts up a certain amount of follow-ups where the person is, I'm doing really good, which is fine. And maybe some people have been helped, but I don't think they've been helped by going on there. I don't see how that would help you. It'd get you more attention, and it's a permanent record now. You've gone on there and talked about I was a prostitute and I did this and that, and that's always going to be there. Again, I don't interview that many people anymore. I just tell stories, and it's just me telling the story, because I do feel like it's kind of like I'll interview an expert in the field or these higher level criminals that I interview who are much more well developed people with agency. And, I'm not preying upon them, But a drug addict, an active prostitute, like to be a woman who finds themselves having to stand outside on Figueroa or something, like sad. You shouldn't be helping them catch more dates. He lets the tricks come on there, but the pimp's coming on there. It's well documented. If you look in any search, put the search term in Google, pimp sentenced, human trafficking sentence. And very often, if you read the description of the case, meeting women on social media, that's part of, so they go on there and present themselves in a way so they can catch new girls. So one thing to document is another thing to help pimps recruit. Mark, you can't be that naive. Now you're a form of a trick. See, in that pimp whole world, they find a way to use different people as a trick in different ways. Or maybe you're not a trick who gives money, they get work out of you. You give somebody a ride, you videotape, do this favor, do this or that. They're always, that pimp and hoe, they're always trying to get people to use people to get them to do something for them, which is fine. I mean, other people in society do that too, but be aware of what's going on. Paying a pimp, you're paying a pimp to lie, because a pimp sure ain't ever going to tell the truth. Because rule number one of a pimp, never show weakness in an environment of troubled women looking for safe harbor. I can't say, I have doubts, and when I wake up in the morning, I got to say, no, Al Prophet got it all figured out. I chose to be out here. I'll make it work. Boop, boop, boop. I got all the answers. They're not going to be vulnerable and say anything real. So Mark Laita meeting a girl that's the daughter of a drug addict he paid for an interview and becoming her benefactor. Again, I don't know what went on between the two of them. He doesn't seem like a bad person or just some type of deviant, and realistically, who's he gonna meet? He's doing that all day. He's not hanging out in bars in Santa Monica to meet 50-year-old white women to date. But I could see how people feel, a 19-year-old and a 62-year-old from vastly different social backgrounds seems, I don't know, but it's sad that she passed. But for him he kept saying, she had such a wonderful life. I don't know why she would do this. Well, clearly she didn't. So you're really not as in tune with these people as that you think they are, Mark. Part of being out in the street and surviving is you can't show weakness. You can't be out there can't be a gang member. This life was horrible. You're going to be preyed upon. You're a prostitute. You got to tell yourself you like it, or else you can't keep up with it. And all these people you're getting that clearly are coming down and want to get high, or you just gave them some money, and they ran and got high and came back, you are facilitating what they're doing, sir. And these pimps, you are facilitating what they're doing. And this might sound crazy to most of you, because most of you aren't too fucked up, but a certain amount of people are fucked up. They kind of, like, amongst a small amount of people that, like, people will themselves into being real serious drug addicts, because anybody could fall into some drug use. But to be someone who, like, I've been for 20 years and in and out of jail, and I'm putting a needle in my arm, that's a lot of work. I mean, you have to get up and find a dope. Like, it's a lot. You have to, it's a career. I mean, I saw people in jail who were clean for 9, 10, 12 months. There was no addiction in them. And when they got close to their out date, they started asking people that's coming in from the street, hey, does Jimmy still have that spot on so-and-so? They still got the so-and-so. What's going on out there? Whoa. They're planning to get right back in it because something's wrong. And it's not the drug addiction. Something else is off within them, and no one's addressing it. It may not be addressable. I don't have the answers. But, Mark, you should get a social worker or something. Go down to USC, UCLA, get some social work students who can sit in over there, maybe help guide these people to some services, some counseling, have some better questions to make these people, because just letting them say anything and getting their $200-$300 is quite frankly inappropriate. And that's my thoughts on Soft White Underbelly. Rest in peace to the Kiara young lady, and I hope, Mark, you take this to heart, and the rest of you, why are you watching? I mean, how many times can you tell a dope fiend or a prostitute tell a story? Because all their stories are really the same, and most of what they're telling ain't even true. Al Prophet.